Only 9 times in NFL history has a team been down by 25 points or more to come back and win the game. When you are losing by 4 scores, the game is already lost, unless you are one of these 8 teams. Yes, one team pulled this off twice. 5 of these comebacks happened after 2010, but there were still 2 in the 80s and 2 in the 90s. You can call them the greatest come-from-behind wins or the biggest blown leads, depending on which way you look at it. One team was even on the winning side of one, but the loser in another.
That was the most improbable comeback in all of sports history.
First on our list is a special one. This was the Cardinals' last year in St. Louis before their move to Arizona. But they had one last farewell for the city on this November day, when they were down 25 points against Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers not only led 28-3, that was the score entering the 4th quarter, which makes this the largest 4th quarter comeback ever. The Cardinals turned it on in the 4th, getting 4 quick touchdowns. Quarterback Neil Lomax tossed one to Robert Awalt, who finished the day with that touchdown and 9 receptions for 124 yards. The defense did their part too, forcing a fumble, and Nico Noga scooped that up and ran 24 yards for the touchdown. And then Lomax threw not 1, but 2 touchdown passes to J.T. Smith, who had 8 receptions for 96 yards and the last 2 touchdowns of the game in order to seal up the win for the Cardinals. St. Louis was the home team, so they had the crowd on their side. But what about the biggest comeback on the road? Fast forward 27 years for our next matchup. The Browns had been the laughingstock of the NFL for decades, and they found themselves in yet another hole. The Browns were down 28-3, and it wasn't even halftime yet. But they did notch a touchdown to Jim Dre to close the gap just before the half. Then they dominated the second half. Cleveland's defense stonewalled the Titans, as Tennessee didn't run another play in Browns territory. Brian Hoyer led the charge with 291 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. One went to Travis Benjamin with under 7 minutes of game clock left. And then after a 4th and inches stop, the Browns found themselves in the red zone with under a minute and a half.
Looking end zone, caught by Benjamin, touchdown!
The extra point gave the Browns the 29-28 lead and eventual win. This was still during the regular season, but could something like this happen in bigger games like in the playoffs? Another 25-point deficit, another 28-3 lead. But not all comebacks are created equal, because this was the Super Bowl. The 2016 season was the year Tom Brady had to serve his 4-game suspension for Deflategate. The New England juggernaut still went 14-2 and made it to the Super Bowl before they ran into the high-flying Atlanta Falcons.
You want to talk about deflated? I was deflated. And when Tom Brady threw a pick 6 late in the second quarter that made it 21-0, I said, game over. There's no way.
It got worse than just 21-zip. It was 28-3 Falcons in the third quarter. But Brady and Coach Belichick put together a masterful plan to chip away at the lead. A touchdown to James White, who was the Pats' leading receiver with 110 yards. A strip sack by Dante Hightower. A quick cutting route by Danny Amendola that got him open for a touchdown. And the most amazing catch in all of New England sports history by Julian Edelman. This still stands as the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Or maybe the biggest implosion for the other side.
But we just didn't, the rest of the group, we didn't do enough to be as productive as we needed to be.
Back in 1997, it was a lovely September day in Indianapolis as fans watched their Colts go up on the Bills 26-0 in the first half. Sure, the team settled for 4 field goals, but they also had a rushing touchdown from Marshall Faulk and a first-quarter passing touchdown to Aaron Bailey from none other than Jim Harbaugh. A 26-point deficit, but the Bills turned on the Jets from there. Todd Collins threw 2 touchdowns to Antoine Smith, ran 3 in the game to put the Bills up 37-29. But the comeback wasn't complete. The Colts went back down the field with their backup QB as Harbaugh suffered an injury during the game, making the score 37-35. The Bills had to hold on to that 26-point comeback, but it wasn't even the proudest come-from-behind win in Bills history. January 14, 2023, the Jaguars and Chargers were facing off in the wildcard game. Their situations were eerily similar. It had been 4 seasons since the Chargers had been in the playoffs, and a 5-season drought for the Jaguars. The Chargers had taken Justin Herbert 6th overall in the 2020 draft. The Jaguars had taken Trevor Lawrence 1st overall in the 2021 draft. Two stars in the making facing off against one another. But Herbert and the Chargers took a big lead early, going up 27-0. The Jaguars slowly started chipping away at their deficit. A touchdown to Evan Ingram before the half, then another touchdown to Marvin Jones in the third quarter. Jaguars threw their next touchdown to Christian Kirk. It was expected they would go for one, but Joey Bosa was heated about a missed call.
Because of the penalty, because of this, they were allowed to move the ball. They took the option of moving the ball to the one, so puts that in.
Now win it with a field goal.
It's another fine, but if they blow a call that ruins an entire team's season, they're probably back in the locker room after the game like, got that. Oh, yeah, got him 15 yards. What a loser. I guarantee it. That's what they're talking like in the back.
Joey Bosa might be the dumbest person in football. No, he might be.
This one takes us back a long time and features two legends, Joe Montana and his 49ers taking on the Saints and Archie Manning. The Saints had the Niners on the ropes early, putting up the first 3 touchdowns of the game. The Niners got on the board with a punt return touchdown, but then the Saints scored 2 more TDs. At half, it was 35-7, a 28-point deficit, without the Niners offense posting any score. But Montana and the Niners weren't going to let the 0-13 Saints get their first win on them. And Lenville Elliott ran one in to tie the game and send it to overtime. The 49ers sealed the deal in OT with a field goal to win the game 38-35, completing it. January 4th, 2014 saw the Colts take on the Chiefs in the AFC wildcard game. The teams traded touchdowns in the first quarter, and then the Chiefs went ballistic, capping off the first half with a Nile Davis touchdown, and then opening the second half with another Nile Davis touchdown to make it 38-10. It was a 28-point deficit for the Colts. Alex Smith had thrown 4 touchdowns. Andrew Luck, the quarterback that the Colts thought would bring them championships, had only thrown 1 touchdown. His critics were having a field day.
Who is Andrew Luck so far? He's good. He's a good quarterback. Is he tier 1? No.
Luck needed to prove the haters wrong, and the Colts developed a mantra to help, one play at a time. After a Donald Brown touchdown, the Colts defense stepped up.
Quarterback rolls out to the right side, stays in. Now the Colts got him from behind. That's Mathis. The Colts have the football.
The Colts capitalized on the turnover, and Andrew Luck guided Donald Brown into the end zone again. A Chiefs field goal and a Kobe Fleener touchdown made the score 41-31.
Hey, am I right? We're going to win.
21 got to come back in. We're going to win. We're going to win.
Even if another player stumbled, the leader of the Colts offense was there to will his team closer. The Colts now found themselves down 44-38. So what was the play going to be?
Andrew takes the snap, sets up, looks. He's going to throw one way downfield. It's him. He's got it. He's going to score.
Indy then made a final defensive stand and secured the 45-44 victory, marking the largest comeback in NFL history that didn't require overtime. But all these games were with less than a 30-point deficit. Could a team come back from more? The Bills' 26-point comeback against the Colts in '97 was a big moment, but it didn't outdo a wild-card game against the Oilers in 1993. Boone hung 4 touchdowns, and all Buffalo got was a measly field goal. To open the second half, Bubba McDowell of the Oilers had a 58-yard pick six, and the score was 35-3, a 32-point deficit. Who was at the helm of the sinking Buffalo ship? Quarterback Frank Reich. Kenneth Davis ran one in for the Bills' first touchdown, and after that, it was Reich time. The first receiver he found, Don Beebe. But Andre Reed wasn't done yet, as he was able to complete the hat trick with a 3rd touchdown. Steve Christie clinched the game for Buffalo 41-38. This is still the biggest comeback in NFL playoff history, and at that moment became the largest comeback ever, until a more recent game broke that record almost 30 years later.
We may watch football for 50 years and never see ball games like this.
In 2022, the Colts were having a rough year. They were 3-5-1 in their first 9 games. Who was at the helm of the sinking Indianapolis ship? It started out with Frank Reich again as their head coach, but he was fired early in the season and Jeff Saturday took over. winning his first game coaching and then losing 3 in a row. But then against the Vikings, they went up big, 33-0. Jeff Saturday was pumped about getting win number 2.
Get some, little man. You better get out the way. The train is coming. You're on the track.
But it was the tale of 2 halves, because after halftime, Kirk Cousins in Minnesota lit it up. Cousins turned into quarterback Oprah. KJ Osborne, you get a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, you get a touchdown. Adam Thielen, you get a touchdown. All the Colts did in the second half was get 1 field goal. Minnesota trailed 36-28 and had the ball on their own 36-yard line with 2:28 to go.
So 2:28 on the clock. No timeouts remaining. They're going to set up the screen with Dalvin Cook and let him chew up the yards. Dalvin Cook! There he goes!
A 2-point conversion sent it to overtime, but both teams were unable to get a score most of that extra period to seal the win. With under a minute left, Cousins hit Thielen for a huge gain and then connected with Jefferson to get them farther down the field, all to set up the game-winning field goal. The Colts not only have one of the top 4 greatest comebacks, but also found themselves having the biggest blown lead in NFL history.
You've got to be opportunistic, and ultimately we didn't make enough plays.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, be sure to subscribe and check out our other videos on the screen.